Hi everyone, welcome to the SIG Autoscaling meeting. I see that today on the agenda, the first item is Elmiko's proposal for migrating Carpenter. Do you want to take this?
Yeah, thanks, Maciek. This is basically a heads up to let everybody know what's going on. I think several months ago I came to this group just talking about, we're creating a new Carpenter provider that basically uses Cluster API as the back end. I demonstrated the proof of concept last week to the Cluster API community. And so we've got like a minimally viable proof of concept. This is like an experimentation that we'll continue to build on. So yeah, I just wanted to let people know here that I think we'll have a discussion on the 20th of August at the SIG Cluster Lifecycle meeting where we'll, kind of wrap up any issues that are related to this. And if there's no objections, we'll go forward with adopting it. So happy to hear any comments or discussion, and I just wanted to share it with this group. So yeah, that's about it.
Thanks. So I assume you also discussed this with the Carpenter group, right? Because they usually
Yeah.
don't show up at those meetings.
Right. Yeah. I discussed it with the Carpenter group in terms of the naming and the Kubernetes SIG like repo. They were okay with it. And I also discussed it with the Cluster API community and they're okay with it. And I've discussed it with Lubomir from the Cluster Lifecycle, but we'll have a deeper discussion on the 20th. If there's no objections or anything.
I don't expect really any objections from us either, but if anyone has any, then obviously please speak up. I think sort of one thing that would be nice to clear up would be in terms of like where the issues are raised and like ownership in SIG. Like is it SIG Autoscaling? Is it SIG Lifecycle? Which kind of what is the right place for people to ask questions and so on?
Yeah, that's a great question, Maciek, actually. I think it's going to be adopted by SIG Cluster Lifecycle. So because this is like a cluster API project, basically, it'll be a sub-project of Cluster API and it will be owned by Cluster Lifecycle. So it shouldn't add any administrative process here. Unless at some point in the future we decide to adopt it or something. But for the time being, it will be cluster lifecycle owned.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense given that that's where cluster API as a whole is. I think it would be useful to the extent possible to like link to the right Slack channel and so on, just to make it easier on the users to get their questions answered. But otherwise, sounds good.
Cool. Thanks. Yeah, look forward to any discussion or comments or anything. Please post stuff on that issue that I linked there if you've got questions or just want to give a +1 or whatever. So thanks.
Thank you. And I see the next item is about the VPA recommender.
Yep, it's added by me. If you want, I can briefly share to explain the issue,
Sure.
to have a better discussion maybe on the issue. Okay, that's great. I'm not able to see my tabs. Okay, okay, that's it. Long story short, yeah, right now we were looking how to adapt a machinery or basically how to achieve the following. We want to prevent VPA recommender recommendations to exceed the largest nodes allocatable. Yeah, long story short, the motivation for this is that when VPA recommender is issuing higher recommendations than the largest nodes allocatable, then the pods will be unschedulable. The kube scheduler won't be able to schedule them. And that means a downtime for the corresponding pod. Yeah, so we were internally evaluating some options how to do that. One of the options was to add a mutating webhook to mutate all the VPA resources and like to have one value computed in advance, which denotes the largest nodes allocatable, and let that mutating webhook mutate all the VPAs in the cluster and set their max out values. Yeah, we also noticed that the GKeys Autoscaler, according to the docs, is already doing this, already tackling this. The quotes here state that it's somehow already taking into account the maximum node size when issuing the recommendations. So yeah, basically that's the problem that we would like to tackle on our side. And I already noticed that there are flags in the VPA recommender for providing the min recommendations. Yeah, you can specify these flags. I'm not sure whether the same thing makes sense for max out, like having flags in the VPA recommender. And when you deploy the VPA recommender, you set these values to the maximum not allocatable. One problem, I'm not sure whether it makes sense to discuss it in details now, but it's kind of implementation detail, is what happens when you have yeah, one pod with several containers that are under VPA. Then you have to somehow proportionally distribute this value, the pod's max out recommendation across all the containers, and maybe this doesn't work for all the cases. I'm not sure. Yeah, I want to also add, maybe there is already known replies to this ticket, but yeah, I just saw that the same issue was discussed 2 months ago on 17th of June this year, but I was not able to find out actually a recording from this meeting occurrence. So back then in this meeting, actually, folks shared that the provisioning request API is the way to do the thing. So I'm also open to other alternatives to tackle this issue. Yeah, maybe that's it, the introduction from my side.
So I don't feel like I'm the best person to answer this because VPA is not my area of expertise. Like the two things I would mention is probably you want to look at not at just node allocatable, but also at daemon sets you have. So then the problem
Yes.
is the real allocatable of the node really is allocatable minus all the daemon sets. And
Yes.
that gets kind of tricky because not every daemon set in the cluster actually wants to run on every node. So you need to do the node set or matching, which gets kind of more tricky. So I understand that maybe because this is something that cluster autoscaler is already doing, you could like that. I imagine this is where the provisioning request suggestion may be coming from. But I'm not sure because provisioning requests, at least in the version that's currently implemented in cluster autoscaler, is very specified for kind of batch/job use cases. And so I'm not sure if that's the best fit. But I think that would be where the idea is coming from. It's just basically there is some tricky calculation here that CA is already performing.
Yes, actually, for now, I think it's out of scope, at least from our side, to do dynamically these calculations. Yes, we are aware of the daemon sets, and colleagues already shared that Cluster Autoscaler is computing the daemon sets requests when running simulations internally to whether scale up or not. So yeah, for now, our plan was like, we know our nodes allocatable, like the machine size minus the kubelet, the resources that we give to the kubelet, that's the nodes allocatable. And yeah, for now, we don't have a use case where a daemon set doesn't run on a given worker group or nodes. And yeah, that's why we can compute it easily. Like we can get the daemon set requests and subtract from the not allocatable the daemon set requests.
So what you're looking for right now is essentially just a kind of static way of defining this
Yes,
release.
exactly.
Mhm.
We are more looking into static configuration from outside. I like I am the cluster operator. I know which are my nodes allocatable. I know which daemon sets I create in this cluster. So I just want to configure this value in the VPA recommender, and somehow the VPA recommender not to issue recommendations higher than the value that I configured.
Yeah,
That's
that makes a lot of sense to
Mhm.
me, but we also need like VPA owners to
Mhm.
chime in on this. I don't really have much to add from me. Ray?
Yeah, I'm not like officially an owner either, but having a lot of touch points internally with GKE's version, I'm still thinking about this. And yeah, I think I'll add some replies into your bug.
Mhm.
But this makes a lot of sense. And I can kind of take a look and see what logic we're using internally at GKE
Mhm.
to do some of this as well, because I think it
Mhm.
would be very useful in this implementation as well. So yeah, let me kind of formulate a response, but I think overall I like the idea. It makes a lot of sense, and it's simple, right? So
Mhm.
gets the job done.
No, yeah, that's a great way. So we would really appreciate if you can support here. Yeah, I don't know. I think previously you shared that in GK you're using the provisioning request API, but I'm not sure. Like we don't have to copy the GK's solution. Like if you feel that that's a competitive advantage for you, you can still keep it. But we would like to also happy to see
In
a
GK,
solution
we're
in the
using an internal API, which is not provisioning request exactly, but
Right.
GKE version of cluster autoscaler is quite has quite a lot on top of the
Okay.
scaler. So there is a lot of kind of extra stuff.
So you're using a different API.
There is an internal API in GKE that we're using, and basically we do delegate it to cluster autoscaler. But then the question is how much work it would be to upstream this, because it's built on top of GKE specific.
Okay. But on higher level, can you summarize with few sentences what was the idea, like how it works on high level, just to
Basically asks
understand it?
cluster autoscaler if there is enough space. It's literally
Okay,
that.
okay, I got it.
So there is a specialized API we use internally.
But okay, the component that asks is the VPA updater, right? Or is it the VPA recommender?
Yeah,
Or
it's the
both?
updater. So before evicting a pod, it will check with cluster autoscaler.
Okay, got it. But maybe you don't have anything for the recommender, but you rather fix this in the updater side. Like you don't hit such issue because the updater never evicts, or no?
Yeah, that's right.
No, but still there is the case that like if the pod gets restarted for some reason, the admission webhook will still mutate it. So if you have higher recommendation, then the cluster can run, then you still have the same problem. Yes.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd have to double check. I feel like both do something here, both on the
Okay.
recommender and the updater side. Yeah, I'll double check, and I'm happy to respond in there as like scenarios to think about.
Great.
Yeah, let me take a look and I'll reply.
Thanks. Thank you, folks. Then I'll stop sharing.
Thank you. Do we have any other topics? There is nothing more on the agenda. I'll actually just maybe do one quick information from my side, which is that I am going to be building cluster autoscaler 131, and Kubernetes 131 is supposed to be cut tomorrow. But I think kind of realistic time frame for cluster autoscaler release is early next week. I try to have it next Monday, but if there is any challenges or problems, it may slip to Tuesday or Wednesday next week. So that's it from me. Does anyone else have any other topics they'd like to bring up?
One quick announcement: we did cut the latest VPA last week, and we pushed that, so that's out now. So thank you for your patience, and yeah, please go get it if you want the latest features.
Yeah, thanks, Ray. We already updated on our side.
Okay. Thanks. Any other topics? All right. In that case, thank you, everyone, and have a good week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.